Yeah, it's giving you a warning. It gives you a message in these kinds of things that there is an anxiety that is causing you to not be mindful, to be somehow running away from yourself, right? And so the only antidote is to sit with that which you have been running away from. Bring it up. There's something unbearable, right? And you're getting these shocks in order to awaken you to that and saying, slow down, right? Pay attention. And the answer will be given to you. It is a manifestation in the ego of the death drive, okay? The ego is both terrified that it's going to destroy itself, and it will, okay? But it's also thrilled by the idea.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it wants it. And so it goes through with this paradox of wanting to die. Then I don't have to work in the kitchen anymore, and I don't have to do anything. I don't have to be nice to anybody. I don't have to do anything that I don't want to do. Get me out of here, right? But also the terror of, oh no, then I'm really going to lose out of all the pleasures and everything. So it's constantly going back and forth. But it's thrilled by its ability to choose to die, to say, well, the hell with all of you. I don't care. I don't even want to live and be with you. It's a rejection of the very world that is its own projection. Not really. There seems to be more pain because now you're conscious of it again, whereas before you had repressed it. But the pain had always been there. But the point of projecting it, let's say, in a relationship, in a session, is that some part of you knows that the projection isn't true. Right? And that I'm not the same guy as your father or your mother was who hurt you originally in this life, right? And that conditions are changed. And so you begin to awaken to the fact that you've been living in a petrified world. That you decided when you were 3 what the world is like, and then you never looked again to change your mind. And you just kept projecting that belief system on the world. And that's what people do. And they don't check in again to see if the world has changed. They just assume, okay, they were hateful to me then everybody's going to be hateful to me forever. That's how the mind works. And then they act in a way that will provoke the world to treat them the same way. But here you try to provoke me to act in that way, and I'm not going to do it, right? So eventually, what really gets you angry is to see that you can't make me angry, right? And because then it means you have to change that and let go of the pain. You've been nursing this pain and living on it, and wanting to get revenge for it. And you've created all kinds of fantasies around it. And your ego is based on that, on a trauma that happened a long time ago. And that has been your operating principle. And you see that it's ridiculous to hold on to that now. But to let go of it means now I'm living in an unknown world. Now I'm really clueless. Before, at least, I had this clue. I knew people were going to reject me and treat me as lacking and all of this, and I could tune them out, and I could just be very self-centered and justify that. But now, wow, I'm living in a world that's God. Oh, and I have to be responsible and loving. Much harder to do. It takes much more courage. And so we have to face honestly the fact that we're holding on to our pain to justify not being a loving being. Well, the question, as Ramana would say, is who wants to get back there? What is the I that wants to get back there? If you'll go in and ask, who am I? And stay with what you come up with, what you find, which will be the nothingness. It will be the emptiness of pure awareness that cannot be defined or grasped, that you can't put any hat on top of. Okay? But that's what you are. And when you will stay in that silence of realizing who I am, you're free. And then everything will come to you. It will be given to you in words and in ways that you can grasp and hold on to. But only once you have reached that point of being what you are seeking. Okay? And that means letting go of the mind. Well, it doesn't really, because it produces an anguish that ultimately makes it want to kill itself. That's why the death drive is so powerful within the ego. It hates itself, right? And so how can anything that causes you to be filled with self-loathing be in your interests, right? The only thing that's truly in the interest of the ego is to die as an ego. Not to kill your organism, not to commit suicide, but because the ego is identified with the body, it thinks only by killing its body will it escape its suffering. And of course, it just magnifies its suffering. But through dissolving that urge to try to get, to fill a lack, which is what the ego's basic objective is, with trying to get as much as it can of pleasures, whether of food, sex, drugs, music, whatever it wants. It wants to fill its life with as much of these things as possible, and then it explodes. And it always feels it's still not enough. It's not enough. The ego is insatiable. And that very desire will ultimately destroy it. And so when you are in the state of fullness, because you have everything you need, and you don't need to get anything from out there, then the richness actually pours through you. The creativity comes from within. You're no longer a consumer, but a producer of joy. That's what's in your interests. When you become the producer of that, and it's not based on wanting to get something back from others, look how good this painting is, or this music, or this or that, but it's just a production of creative expression that comes from the source, then truly you're acting in the interests of God and yourself, because you are one. Remember, this world is a manifestation of the source, okay? But we're loyal to it as that, not as a world of disparate objects and entities. That's all. We can only love the world when we recognize that it is ourself, the God self, and our own fragments. If you have hurt anyone in the world, you've hurt yourself. And so loyalty to the source will be refusal to hurt anyone. So in order to be loyal to the source, we have to take the vows of being a Sat Yogi. That's why we take them, because that's the only way to be loyal to the source. We have to take a vow of non-violence, of non-stealing, non-lying, non-sexual use and abuse of another. All of those things have to be vowed in order to be loyal to the source. So that determines our ethical responsibility toward everyone. And it is infinite. Our ethical responsibility is without limit. And so that's why it is a very serious matter to join a community that is based on loyalty to God. Then to live that out requires a life of utmost restraint of the ego and utmost constant repair of any inaccurate karma. Absolute mindfulness. And we mustn't allow any egoic stains or leaks, whether of anger or of any other mistreatment of anyone else. And that takes tremendous self-control, self-mastery. And that is of utmost ethical importance. No, there are two sides of the same coin. You are hurt, your heart is broken, and then you refuse to love again, and then your heart bursts because it's being closed. So it's both. But why were you hurt in the first place? Also your own karma. But karma is like the snowball rolling down the hill, getting bigger and bigger as it rolls. So a very small karmic glitch in one life will be very huge 10 lives down. And that's when you start getting these kinds of psychosomatic responses.